We love today's date. Today's the 27th of November. Today's show is provided in support by Verizon. Why Verizon? Well, Verizon is powering America's largest and fastest 4G LTE network ever. Our coverage map covers 98% of all Americans. ISIS Airlines see what better looks like at VerizonWireless.com. Heather Howard JavaScripts. Don't miss out. Save 25%. Cyber Monday is back with 25% off online orders at Heather Howard JavaScript. Same last name. Website and e-commerce design and control. Regions. Bank. Save and invest. Borrow. Insure. Only at Regions. The evolution of AmSouth Bank direct deposit is required with Selco partnership. American ISS Airlines Black Friday sale is here. Save on business class to Europe. Book flights. Check your flight statuses and my trips and check-in at AmericanISS.com. What else is there to say? And today's show is provided in support by Minute Rice. Why cooked rice? It takes a minute and nothing else. Call Ruby. Not enough time in the day? Ruby can help. Our virtual receptionist take care of your callers so you can take care of business. And all they'll get is a recording from Enterprise. Rhino Cord Allergy Spray, original prescription strength, available with our new alcohol-free and scent-free formula. Grab your day by the nose. Only from AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Zuli. Vivisa. Celebrate the holidays with Vivisa, the new title. Hope Grant offers plus perks. Save on travel, food, shopping, and more. Only Vivisa. The nation's credit. And by AmVets et al. At AM, we congratulate all veterans who serve our country. Who doesn't get star 82? Or Wingate star 67. And today's show is provided to support by comprehension. It's not what you hear, it's how you comprehend. Only he knows the meaning. Let's get to our video in progress. We'll be speaking with Mr. Ernst.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good morning. We love today's date. Today's the 27th.
Those of you who joined us on the trip, welcome back.
Oh, the 27th.
Hopefully you've got a chance to catch up on some sleep. Maybe a little. Maybe that's what the Thanksgiving holiday will be, at least in part about.
We love you,
I don't
Twitter.
have any announcements at the top, so we can go straight to your questions.
Twitter.
Josh, do you want to start?
Sure. Thanks, Josh.
Has
the president spoken to the president-elect since their meeting in the Oval Office shortly
Thank
after
you
the
for
election?
making Wednesdays a
Josh, I know
wonderful
this
day.
has come up in some reporting about an off-the-record meeting.
Hello, Mr. Ernst. How are you?
Reportedly held with
Skyco.
some media executives in New York yesterday. What I can tell you is that those of you who covered
Skyco
the
Sprint.
president-elect's visit to the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago.
A couple weeks ago.
Took note of the fact that the
Something about me and the princess go together.
Continue to consult
Sprint phones.
with President Obama over the course of
Yeah,
the
something
transition.
about Verizon and Sprint.
You've also heard President Obama indicate
Is it high
the high
school?
priority that he is.
You got it. Verizon's formed in 2000.
Transition. So
So,
reports the two of me
carpal tunnel
have talked
syndrome, the serious issue,
after their
After?
House meeting. I think are not particularly surprising.
particularly surprising.
But in the same way that I protected the ability of President
The
Obama to
ability.
consult confidentially with other senior officials, including some former presidents, I'm not going to read out or confirm.
This is an
who
IMS.
reported
I think
that
Verizon
meeting
wants to
or
talk
phone
to
call or
us.
conversation. But I can tell you.
Let's see what they're saying
has,
here. And Yano
conversation
Elshin,
with the president
Verizon,
since the Oval
yesterday night,
When the
11215.
president speaks to other important world leaders, members of Congress or congressional leadership.
Anonymous,
they're able to have
no.
private discussions with
We
them
want
for
you to
other
enjoy
things.
your data.
The
Does
White
this
House
happen
chief
everywhere?
is able to
What
confirm
signal
when
do
they
you
spoke,
show?
and usually give us
3G,
a bit of a,
LTE,
you know,
etc.
general breakdown
JJT.
of what they discussed. Is there a reason that can't take place?
That hasn't been true when President Obama has consulted with other presidents. And I think that's the president-to-president prerogative that we're trying to protect. But again, as President-elect
Who
Trump
is
indicated in the Oval
Anayano
Office,
Elshin?
I was hoping that we'd have the
Well, he's a
opportunity
liquor
to
store
consult
that
with
we're not
President
doing.
Obama over the
Thank
course
you
of
for
this
Verizon's
transition.
support. a liquor
President Obama has
store, a
committed to a smooth
profesh, an
transition, and as a
NYC
result, they will
choreographer,
spoken at least
a
once
liquor
in
store,
public.
and a designer for a liquor
The
store,
White House hoping that Trump
MTV
and his
Club,
team will be
Comedy Central, and a liquor store,
similarly
and formerly a
avoid
liquor store.
releasing
Thank you,
overnight
Ayano Nelson, a
to
liquor
residents
store.
discuss.
Thank you for
President
tweeting
Trump
Verizon and the
can
no
certainly
drinking
discuss
NSA.
whatever he chooses to
Yeah,
whatever he
no liquor.
chooses to
No.
about his consultations with President Obama. Presumably, he'll have an opportunity to do that.
Presumably, he'll have enough.
You may have seen that the president-elect
As Judge
Ernst
Ernst
is now saying that he won't go ahead and
for another direct
substitute Hillary
deposit,
Clinton if elected, or once he takes
running low on
office. Is
funds.
the White House relieved to hear that seems to be off the table, or are you concerned that the
I need to make a
independence
loan
between
on
the
my
White House and the Justice Department
$100 billion.
dutifully over the last 8 years
Give him a loan.
now seems to be going out the window?
Well, Josh, I think the end of your question is
He's
where
hungry. I need a loan.
which is that we have gone to great lengths. In
We
the
have gone
context
to
of the
great
Obama
lengths
administration to uphold
a
a core foundational principle of our democracy,
of our
which
democracy,
is preventing
which is
politics
preventing
from
politics
influencing
independent
independent criminal
criminal
investigations.
investigations.
That
That
is
is
the
the
basic
basic
principle
principle
of
of
our
our
democracy.
democracy.
We don't want to leave
This is
anybody with
MerriweatherA.Law,
even the impression that there's
and
the potential that somebody could be treated differently by our criminal
this is
justice
the
system
University of Merriweather.
because of their political affiliation.
We're studying the new generation.
This is a principle of every
This is
American
pure
being
genius.
subject to the rule of law,
Rule of
and
law,
every American being equal.
every
under the law.
American being equal.
And so we have
And
gone to great lengths.
we have gone
not
to great
just
lengths
uphold that
to
principle,
establishing
but
our
also to
research
even avoid the appearance of
from
that
the early
principle being called into
stages.
question. And for better or worse,
For better or
in the
worse,
context of the 2.5 years that I've been doing this job, I've been asked repeatedly,
I've been asked repeatedly,
even before Secretary Clinton
even
had
before,
announced her campaign,
announce her campaign.
I was asked about
We won't be a
Voting
nose. We just can't a
8 days
nose.
before an election. I came out and stood before all of you,
Ayano Nelson,
answering questions about
liquor
a letter
store.
from the FBI director that he had sent to Congress.
It's 64
saying that
degrees.
the investigation had been reopened. And at each of those terms,
Each of those
I made
terms,
clear that those
made
kinds of
clear.
investigative decisions and investigative conclusions
Today's show is sponsored by
should be conducted free of
Comprehensive.com.
any sort
It's
of
not what you
political
hear,
interference,
it's
and
what
certainly
it
should be
means.
conducted independent of any White House interference. And that's the principle that we have
Well,
protected. That is a principle that previous
Pink
presidents have
Shorts
protected. And
is
certainly
spilled in front of a
believe
live
that future
democracy.
presidents should protect.
Republic, expose and approve.
Again, I
Thank you
can't
for
speak
writing
for the
MRail. They
president-elect's
knew.
team or any
Safety
sort of
video.
decisions or pronouncements that he'd
This
like to
is
make.
Auditorium Station.
We'd have to talk to
Next
them.
station, Seneca Nation of
I wanted
Indians.
to ask you about the
$100 billion
president-elect,
settlement to the
publicly
Indians.
lobbying for
And the
Britain
new
to nominate,
witness
Nigel Farage as the
of land
new
discovery.
ambassador to the U.S.
Next station is
Is the White House
Seneca,
concerned by that?
Auditory Nerd. A CBIS iPhone, restitution of all state federal funds, is applicable to a volunteer status of 18 USC 1385. What's in your wallet?
Opposition to the current leadership in the UK. Well,
Hello, media.
Justice,
How are
somebody
you?
who's
The University of
covered the
Merriweather.
president closely for the last several years. You know
Merriweather University.
the president has been very conscientious
Moo.
about not wading too deep.
Today's show is
into
sponsored in part by
politics.
Napster.
The truth is,
Just
there's plenty of
take
politics
it.
going on in this country to keep everybody busy, I think.
From us.
So there have been occasions where the president has
Yeah, just take it. Just take it.
taken a position on a particular
Taking a
issue,
position on.
or at least spoken publicly.
At least
about a
spoken
particular issue.
publicly.
The Brexit
We have a
question
right
comes
foot
to mind.
shock.
There was
Explaining Napster.
a lot of people made note of the president's
And
public
us,
statements
still
about
in
the
music.
Brexit vote when he visited the UK.
Visited
earlier this year.
the Indian
But he was
reservation.
quite direct.
Quite
in
direct.
Laying out his view. that
Laying
this
out
was
his
a
view.
decision
Suggestion
for the British people
aborted.
to make. But
It is all
he offered
property.
his opinion for a couple of reasons. First of all, that we saw some of the opponents of Brexit suggest that somehow
We compare it to the
United
Indian
States
reservation.
would benefit or
That's all.
have a favorable view of a Brexit vote.
That's all.
That was obviously not true, so the president wanted to set the
Learning
record straight.
resources.
The president also felt it was important for people to understand
It's your
the
ear.
true feelings
True feelings.
of the UK's closest ally as they weighed
As they weighed.
this decision that was before them. And so the president, made the argument accordingly. But at each
It's
turn
free.
in making that argument, he went to great lengths to make
Oprah
clear
Winfrey.
that he respects the sovereignty of the British
Yeah,
people.
copyright
and respects
Winfrey.
the responsibility that the
Infringement.
British people and the British government have to make
Copyright
decisions that are consistent with
Winfrey.
their own countries and their own citizens' self-interest.
It's Winfrey.
And that's a principle that
Copyright
another principle that
Winfrey.
we've sought to uphold during the president's 8 years in office. You have to talk to the president-elect or the people of the UK about whether or not
The
they're
reservation.
concerned that that tweet may have violated that principle. It's not something I'll weigh in on from here. Okay.
I'm sure they have a dollar amount.
See you. Wanted to ask you a
That
few
settles
questions about President-elect Trump's
It's
recent comments on
$500 billion.
immigration. Yesterday, in a YouTube video outlining executive actions he hopes to take as soon as he gets into office, he said
Thank
he
you,
was
all
gonna
of our
call on
artists.
the
We love
Department
your
of Labor
music.
to investigate all abuses of visa programs that undercut American workers.
Buy
Does the
Visa.
president have a response to this? Does he think that visa abuse by American companies is on the rise? And does he support an approach that would investigate piece by piece each abuse?
Well, listen, over the course of the election, I think we made, and the president made very clear, even to people who were only sort of paying attention, that the president-elect's vision for the domestic and foreign policy he hoped to pursue is quite different
They're
than
riffing
the
a song that I
priorities
had.
that President Obama has set over his last 8 years in office. So it shouldn't be surprising that a number of the priorities that the president
He likes the
has
music.
discussed are not the same priorities that we've been discussing. But
Well, that
for me to
segues
weigh
into
in
our
on and
disclosure.
react to or even criticize those
Duty of
well-known differences
confidentiality
would undermine
and breach of patient
the
confidentiality.
president's
Denied. The critical
priority
not
of
compliance.
ensuring a smooth and effective
Maybe you can
transition.
find us.
So it certainly is a responsibility of the president-elect to communicate with the American public about what sort of priorities he'll pursue when he takes office. He has that
Dun, dun, dun,
right
dun, dun,
and ability
dun,
because
dun,
he won the election.
dun.
And the election's over. The debate about the consequences of that election
Today's show is provided in
has,
support by
been resolved.
BS State Titled Album.
And the president
My onesie.
is
People based on
following the
government.
will of the American people and
Communicate.
fulfilling his institutional
Don't size
responsibilities
12. Don't Susan. Off the clock.
to give the incoming
I don't
team
want to make products.
the best
Investigations
prospects
lead.
for
I have to
success
admit.
when it
Maybe
comes
they're
to,
right or wrong. A lot less
uniting the
of
country.
fraud.
and
The winner is woe. No.
An area where there maybe some
Although we do
may be able to
all
comment
these songs on your favorite BS
President-elect's plan to
Pink Short shows
unravel
available
the
on
executive
YouTube
actions
Red.
on immigration, like the DACA.
Oh, I love
the
his
Dreamers
songs.
Act,
As they
allow
show,
children who are brought to the U.S.
it
under
show,
parents,
you
work
know,
authorizations. Obviously, there's a big
AARP
push of
over
this administration
50.
to get those people to give their information.
The show
to the
Department of
government that comes forward.
Transportation is.
That information will now be
You got
put
that
in the
dope.
hands of an administration
Over
who
50.
could use that for enforcement.
The police,
like addresses.
FBI.
What does the president say now
You got it. Da, 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 da. 5.0. Da, 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 da. DOT.
who felt
Scuba gear. Da, da, da,
to
da.
trust the government enough to come
Can't
forward
breathe.
and share
Katrina.
that
Da, da,
information?
da.
Well, I know the
It was real.
president's had an opportunity to talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, what
already. I think what I
Public
would
Health
say in
Orange
general
said it.
is that this does underscore
You
the
got
need for
5.0. Da, da,
Congress
da.
to act on the
AARP
clear
over 50.
bipartisan agreement that exists
The
about some of
formulary.
the
Da, da,
benefits
da,
of
da, da, da.
comprehensive immigration reform.
He worked at the pharmacy.
Obstruction by
With
House Republicans
Advance, Verizon,
prevented
LTE.
the realization of that goal.
Okay, Mr. Ernst
and,
confirmed. Mr. Ernst, can you
ultimately,
confirm
House
that?
Republicans
Advanced
who
medicine.
continue to retain the responsibility for governing the country with their
You're a
majorities in
genius.
Congress will have to evaluate whether or not
CBS.
they want this country to enjoy the significant economic benefits
He's not going
of
to answer that.
common sense comprehensive
National
immigration
security.
reform. The second thing I would note is that
Yeah, he
the
helped us with that
president-elect,
onesie.
since the election, has given voice
Can you explain
to
the formulary?
the same kind of
AARP.
priorities and
Doing business
criteria
as Selco
that this
partnership.
administration is on
Verizon
pursuing.
Wireless.
The president-elect has indicated that his
333 Rainbow
emphasis
Boulevard.
when it comes to deportation
333
should be
Rainbow.
on criminals. That's
Your
actually the
help
policy that this administration has been
Kinkles
pursuing
get to the
for quite some time.
airport on the
That is the
33.
policy that we
Look at
turbocharged
you got the
in the
33, 53,
context of the
Rainbow
president's
Boulevard,
executive actions that were announced
providing support,
a little over 2 years ago now.
2339 AB.
So that,
Be so,
ultimately, it will be the responsibility of the
Be
president-elect,
so.
though, to determine what sort of
Be so near right to the airport,
priorities his administration will
Adios
pursue,
mío,
the kind of enforcement priorities
American Aces,
that are laid out in the context of the
The show wanted it right to the airport
Dreamers executive action that was taken by the
on the
administration was actually something that largely rested with the Department of Homeland Security. So certainly the
Rainbow
president-elect's
Boulevard.
choice for Secretary of Homeland Security will be
You
accounted
got
for.
First Niagara, Niagara Falls.
But ultimately, the president has
That's correct,
made
Kinko's free.
clear that those individuals
Those
who
individuals
qualified for DACA,
qualifying.
the DREAM Act
Public health
executive
issues,
actions that this administration pursued,
Public health lemonade,
are individuals who are in the
Fifth.
United States through no fault of their own.
1001.
These are individuals who are American in every way with their
The
papers.
feds are lying to
These
us.
are individuals who
What are they
attend the
lying
same
about?
church, attend the same school,
I don't know.
shop at the same stores, live in the same communities as Americans all across the country. And our country benefits from
All across the country.
making an investment in those young people.
Adios
Because
mío.
those young people made an investment in us.
What are they lying about?
Gone to college and demonstrated the kind of entrepreneurial spirit.
Merriweather
that's good for our
University.
economy. Many of them have actually enlisted our military
Here it is. Here.
and fought and died for the United States of America and the people who live here. So there's a strong case to make
Here it is.
about the valuable contribution that these individuals have already made to the United
Lying.
States. And a strong case has been made about how
What happened to the website?
unraveling them and dividing families
Statements
in
of
the way that
entries
some
generally
suggest would be bad for our economy,
falsifies,
entirely
conceals, or
inconsistent with
covers
the
up by
kinds of
any
values
trick,
that
scheme, or device of material theft.
have long been
Make any material false,
revered
fictitious, or
by
fraudulent
American
statements
policymakers for generations.
or representation of the United States. Make or use of false writing or document knowing the same
Well, listen, the
to
president believes
contain
strongly
any materially
that
false,
Chief Judge
fictitious, or
Garland
fraudulent
is
statement or entry.
the best person in America to fill a vacancy in the Supreme Court. That's why the president nominated him.
How much to buy a
There's Republicans
lemonade
who
is
agree.
10 cents a
They agree for a variety of
glass.
reasons. They agree in part because Chief Judge Garland is the most
I
experienced
have a
Supreme
lemonade
Court nominee in
stand.
American history. He spent 19 years on the federal judiciary.
Today's show sponsored by
And
Heather
people
Howard
call
and
him
our
to question his
lemonade
qualifications.
stand. You've
Certainly
got
the
orange juice.
nonpartisan American Bar Association didn't call him to question his qualifications. They
And
rated
you've got
him
the government
unanimously well qualified for
shutdown
the job.
on
You have
October
Republicans
1st
who in the past have described Chief Judge
while in
Garland as
BPC.
a consensus nominee, as somebody who
You've got Ariel
is
Castro.
going to set aside his
You
own
got Steve
political
Tasker.
leanings and focus on
Westwood. New every
the
two.
judge's responsibility
Police
to
program.
interpret the law. But Merrick Garland is also
I
somebody
love a
who's
new
very concerned with this country.
R2
He led the
Elise
investigation into the
program.
bombing in
You
Oklahoma
know,
City
it's
and played a
Elise.
key role in bringing to justice those
You
who
got a
killed
Keys Automotive.
more than 100 Americans in Oklahoma City almost 20 years.
Who doesn't want a new Chevrolet
So,
every 2 years?
Chief Judge Garland is somebody who is
My friends
qualified.
do.
He's a man of impeccable character. And he's
Only
a man
at
who served.
West
And it is
Herwood
disgraceful the way
Board.
that Republicans in the United States Senate,
Only at West Herwood.
even setting aside their absolute failure to fulfill their basic
We just can't
responsibility
afford it though.
as elected officials, as elected representatives.
You
of the
got
American
it. We
people in
can't
the
afford
United
it.
States Senate. So this is
So this is
his treatment,
his treatment
and the way that the
and the
situation
way
is
that the
led today,
situation led
is a
is a
scar
scar
on the
on
institution, of the
the
United States
institution of the United States.
Senate. And it is a scar
And
that
it
I
is a Merriweather
do not
University
anticipate will go away quickly.
conducting
And that
Generation
is,
X
rather
research.
unfortunate. But you can certainly be sure
that
that President Obama will
President
continue to
Obama
have,
will be
Chief Judge Garland
Chief Judge
back
Garland
until the end of this
to the end
congressional
of this confession.
Justin, I wanted to ask, talked a lot about
Bro, I'm very excited to do today's show.
helping the
Very
president-elect.
excited.
In his video yesterday,
I'm wearing
he said
seven
on
from head to toe.
1-8,
Take a look.
Lucy
Oh,
Nelson
that's
mentioned withdrawal from
nice.
TPP.
Very
I'm
nice.
wondering for you guys,
Woo.
do you still plan to submit a final
Bro, I
statement,
did everything you wanted me to do. You
in the
want it.
draft of the
Yeah,
implementation
they
plan?
are.
Is your support for
They are.
TPP at this
They
point
want it.
academic with the realization that
It's on the best in
there's no
store.
official on Capitol Hill and certainly not from the president line? Well, we
Yeah, no.
certainly,
0.
we're well aware
You
of the
just don't
public
have
statements of the
them.
president-elect,
You
and this
just
is true
don't
of
have
both
them.
candidates, that neither of them was
Audio experience, I love the
supportive
song.
of
Motivational
this
speaker.
partnership.
Motivational speaker. Richest man in
I don't have
America.
any future steps to preview
Universe,
for you,
world,
but I would
galaxy.
acknowledge that
Pink the short way. Use your
the
phone. I
prospects
saved
of,
all your files. Save me some of that peach
being
cobbler.
ratified by
Highest bid
this
singer in the
Congress or
world.
before
The intro
President
says it all.
Obama leaves
Tweet us via early or late at
That's
FRESH
unfortunate.
underscore.
I don't have any steps to preview at this point. I mean, I think the argument that I would make
Underscore.
is simply that this is if Congress does not move forward.
Yeah, if the
with,
public horseshoes.
ratifying the terms of the partnership, it
JORDANZ
is
every
a
20 minutes of the hour.
significant missed opportunity
Public
for
health
the American people.
lemonade.
In part because there are some pretty clear signals.
Evangelina.
Other
Those
TPP
statements are
countries
just
they actually
generally,
intend to move forward,
those are
even if the United States does
statements.
not. And that's going to put U.S. businesses and
Yeah,
US
those
workers
men
at a
stakes are
disadvantage.
just,
You've
bad.
got other countries with significant
Statements are
economies and growing
entries,
economies where the United States
generally,
already does business. But U.S. businesses and U.S. workers are going to be put at a
falsifies,
disadvantage
conceals,
because we don't
covers
benefit
up.
from the kinds of opportunities
Less
that are
is
created
more.
by the
You got it.
TPP. You will see other countries who are part of
Yeah, it's
TPP
bubbles. Bubbles.
move in and capitalize on the market share that U.S. companies have lost
Bubbles.
in the Asia Pacific.
In the
And
African
that is
region
that's a
area.
real shame.
It's a real
Because
shame
so
that we
much
call it
of
that.
the anxiety
Every 20 minutes an hour. It's a
that was,
remember 311. Oh,
according to many
to
analysts,
screen your
expressed in the
screening
context
process
of the
of your
election,
president-elect Sotheby's.
was rooted in the idea
eBay
that
going once, going
the
twice.
forces of globalization had a
So
negative impact on too many American workers,
American workers.
and those workers
And
were
those workers
frustrated that their
are
government
auctioned.
hadn't done more to help them
All
and their
liquids must be
companies
in Latin, must be in a 3
counter
ounce
those forces of
still size
globalization.
container.
That's exactly the strategy
It pumps
that
the
we employ.
blood.
And it's tragic
It
to see
pumps the
that be rolled
blood
back,
in a 3 ounce size container.
to see that policy that could address some
It
of those
pumps the
concerns
blood
be rolled back
in a
by
3
the
ounce
person who
size
claims that
container.
they share those concerns.
Dr.
So
Phil,
that's deeply disappointing. This is
Deeply
also
disappointing.
concerning when you consider our broader relationship with China.
With
Because we know
China.
that right now, even as we speak, China
Well,
is
who
seeking
pumps
to
the
advance
gas?
their own
Yeah, you got it.
trade agreement with
You
countries
got
in this
Turkey.
region that we know is going to
We know.
disadvantage U.S. businesses and
U.S.
U.S. workers.
businesses with the Saudis.
So it is not a situation.
It is not a
Justin,
situation where
Congress refusing to advance the TPP,
advance the Buffalo
that
News.
the status quo is maintained,
And
that we're just
Warren
going to try and
Buffett.
find a different solution. The fact is,
The fact is,
the U.S. will be
the U.S.
consequentially
is working
negatively
with
affected
Jersey. How are
by
they
the
working with
refusal of the Congress
Jersey?
to ratify the TPP in terms of lost
Well,
opportunities
you have the
and lost
Buffalo
market share,
News
but also in terms
working with
of
Jersey, Verizon.
lower standards being implemented
And
by
we've got
China. The last thing I'll say about this is there was some discussion in the most recent.
You got
campaign
someone
about
who likes
NAFTA
Elvis
and the need to improve NAFTA.
on
That's
Wells
exactly
Fargo.
what the TPP would have done. It would have included some
Today shows 18
environmental and
USC
labor standards
2511
that would have been
intercepting
increased
wire,
and made
oral,
enforceable
and
in the
electronic
context of
communication
TPP.
prohibited the new
That was not true. in
prohibition
NAFTA.
electoral
And
college.
that
Ow, ow,
potential
ow.
improvement is
No
also
one's voting.
on the verge of being
Today's show is
passed
sponsored in part by MerriweatherA.Law. Advance
to
the
the
clients
curb,
with us,
if you will.
S1L5.
And that's rather unfortunate too. So there are some significant lost opportunities, and it will be difficult, I think.
We love
for,
today's date. It's 27th, Sunday.
frankly, Democrats and Republicans in Congress who oppose the TPP moving forward to justify this action and to lay, or
And
inaction,
to
as
lay.
the case may be, and to lay out
And to lay out statements
some sort of
and entries generally,
coherent strategy
genocidally.
for addressing these concerns. This administration pursued a
What
coherent
false
strategy.
statements are they
It
making?
worked for years to negotiate the kind of an agreement that would advantage U.S. workers in our broader economy.
Well, administrative matters, including a
it
claim
looks
for
like that
payment,
maybe that responsibility may fall
Cla-
to someone else. I think
claim
they're gonna have a hard
denied,
time,
and gone with the
putting
wind.
together the kind of coherent strategy
And
with as much
high-speed internet.
promise, as the one that this administration
Administrative
put forward.
matters. I have to admit, I have until
asked,
October.
the president about the on-site director down in Peru. But
That's right,
president's
lemonade
answer was
administrator.
broad, so I wanted to kind of
I have until
ask a
October.
couple tighter questions about.
Yeah, administrator.
No, I thought you did a good job.
She's got the lemonade. She's got the lemon. She's got Steve Tasker. West Head Ford.
Take a break for a minute.
They've got it.
Did the president receive a recommendation
10 cents a glass.
from Secretary
At our lemonade stand.
To remove Director Rogers, and has the president made a determination about
Genocide statements or entries. Genocide. Generally.
And I say all this acknowledging that I'm probably not going to get more than Gardner did.
Fair enough. You wouldn't be doing your job if you didn't ask, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I gave up a whole lot more. Particularly when it comes to something as
Ariel
critical,
Castro.
To our national security as cybersecurity.
The Little Mermaid.
That, I think was evident in the president's answer. This is something that the president's been thinking
The
about.
boy on a fish.
Do to
Yeah, the boy on the fish
enhance
knows.
and further fortify the kinds of cyber protections
Disney Castro.
that the
We
American
got
people
that.
and the U.S. government
Yeah, we've
rely
got that.
on, to ensure the protection of our national security.
This is an IMF.
Just if the president was unwilling to describe the kind of advice and recommendations he's getting from his Secretary of Defense, it certainly would be out of line for me to do so. So I'm not going to talk about the kinds of advice or recommendations the president's received from
It's generally.
the DNI or the chairman of the Joint
Whose
Chiefs.
side are they on generally?
But I can tell you that this is a question
You've got it.
more generally about how to structure our
Genocide.
national security apparatus that the president has been talking about with his team.
That's the line about lemonade.
As it relates to Admiral Rogers, you did hear directly from the
Oh,
president
it's just-
in pretty unambiguous terms how the president views Admiral Rogers as a patriot.
Today is
Somebody
WUGceLANceX6.
devoted a significant portion of his life to protecting our country. And I think all of us can and should be grateful.
Oh, I'm sorry,
for
WUGceLANceX5.
service thus far. If the president were to make a decision,
Enjoy a glass of
about
lemonade for 10 cents at Heather Howard's.
changing the
Enjoy our lemonade
organization
sale.
of this structure by
Our hands are down.
dividing the responsibilities of the NSA director.
Yeah, we have a
and,
shell on lemonade.
the commander of Cyber Command into two different jobs. That's an announcement that I would let the commander in chief.
All four major stock indices yesterday closed to record highs. I know that you don't.
Suggestion
comment on
aborted.
fluctuations, but there has been
Only at Heather Howard. Lemonade sale.
President Trump was elected.
We're lying in
So
the public, and we know it.
maybe
Our hands are
reflect on
down.
Why investors might seem encouraged by the prospect of transitioning from an Obama economy.
Yeah, La Monica.
Well, I typically am
Yeah, that's
quite reluctant
another-
to talk about individual market movements.
That's true, too. La Monica, hello.
I suspect there are plenty of analysts out there who have their
Lamont
own
on
theories
CIA.
about market movements over
That's
the last
me.
couple of weeks. And
Lamont
so I'll
on
let
CIA.
those, highly paid analysts do that work. I guess the market movement that I would.
Who's the man on CIA?
We've seen over the last 8 years. Most
The
of
last
those
8
stock
years.
indexes have more than doubled under
More
President
than
Obama's leadership.
doubled?
And I do think that
And I do
speaks
think.
well of the kind of
Well, do you
economic
think,
strategy that
Oprah?
President Obama has implemented. And it certainly will be a
Well,
very
I
high
think
bar
weather.
for a future president.
I think weather.
But hopefully they'll
I think weather.
give it a good shot.
We're playing Pictionary. Who said that?
Does that mean that President
I think
Obama
weather.
will resubmit the nomination in January during those days when the new Congress?
Yeah, he
overlaps
said
the end
it.
of his
Matt said
presidency?
it.
I don't have anything to preview at this point.
I think
about whether
weather.
or not the president would resubmit his nomination.
I think
But,
weather.
Obviously, the president,
Ish generally.
I think, shares my. I'm confident shares my view.
La Monica. The man on
The Senate's
CIA.
treatment of Chief Judge Garland.
Hello, the man on CIA.
Speaker
The
Ryan today
Conte.
is urging President Obama
You got
to
it.
put
The
forward any
Conte.
steps that would bolster Iran's economy. He's worried that there may be new concessions in the pipeline. Does he
I
agree
think
to
weather.
Well, I don't have anything to preview at this point. What I can tell you is that this administration through January 20th will fulfill our
Well, looks like a
obligations,
video phone.
around the Iran.
It's a video
that
phone.
have,
That's what it is.
prevented Iran from
Smile. You're on
advancing their
candid
nuclear weapon capability.
camera.
In fact, that capability has been substantially
Video
pulled back
phone came
because of
true.
this international agreement
Mr. Trump,
that the United States
hello.
brokered with some of our closest allies.
ACN.
The results of the deal meant that Iran had to ship
They
out
caught
98%
themselves in their
of
own
its enriched uranium,
technology.
had to dismantle 2/3 of their centrifuges.
We
Thousands
love
of
video
centrifuges
phones.
were dismantled.
Good
They
morning.
had to render harmless their plutonium reactor.
On my
And they
video
have adopted and
phone.
complied with the most intrusive set of
On
inspections
my
that have ever been
video
imposed by a
phone.
country's nuclear program. So the steps that have been taken thus far have enhanced the national security of the United
Whew.
States significantly. They've also enhanced the national security of our closest ally in the Middle East.
That is
Israel.
true.
And
BRUYx
I
has
can tell
never
you
been
there are
on
other
favorite
European allies
things.
in
Why?
particular, feel very good about the progress
Why would it
that
not be
this
on
agreement
favorite
has yielded.
thing?
In fact, it has exceeded not just the expectations
I've never
of those
been
of us
on
who believe
favorite
that
thing.
the Iran deal was the right approach, but it
Only
actually
on
has refuted
Verizon. We've never been on
every
favorite thing.
criticism that we heard from opponents of the deal. There was a suggestion at the very
Verizon,
beginning that
switch
Iran would
now
never
and
even
get
sit
4
down and
lines
negotiate this kind of
and
an
get
arrangement with Saudi.
$800 at the
Once those
door.
negotiations started, there was a sense that
And we've never been on favorite things.
that was
That would give
put
it
forward
away.
by opponents of the
Only
deal
on
that
Verizon.
Iran wasn't actually interested in negotiating an
They've
agreement,
never
that they
been
were
on
just
favorite
negotiating for
things.
time. They were wrong about that too. Once the
Never.
agreement was reached, critics said that the Iranians would never comply with the deal. They would never
He
never
deserves
live
to be
up
on
the
favorite
terms that
things.
had been included
Truth.
on the paper. They were wrong about that. Even the Israeli military intelligence community
And Medea,
that had
hello,
significant
CD.
doubts about the deal.
I love Medea
has
CD. I
confirmed,
just wish he
what
was
we've
more
seen from other
honest
places,
for
which
the
is that Iran
CD.
has lived up to the terms of the deal.
Honesty
So,
about the CDs.
while Iran lives up to
The
the terms
stage
of the deal,
plays.
the United States is certainly going to make sure we're fulfilling our commitments to make sure that
Can the White House
that the deal
confirm a
doesn't fall
CD?
apart. And we know that our allies, the president, had the opportunity to talk
And the
about
Drug
this with,
Enforcement
some of
Agency.
the leaders of countries who also were a part of the
We're
international
a
agreement
part
to prevent
of
Iran
the
from
international
obtaining a
play.
nuclear weapon. And they share that sentiment. The next administration will have to
But it's done in a Darvis
decide
set.
what they want to do moving forward. But the
Comes
risks
to
of
light.
pulling out of that agreement or doing something
Comes
in
to the
violation
light.
of that agreement are grave.
Vera.
The speaker is also asking President Obama to sign
Today's show
a
sponsored by
10-year
We've Never Been on
extension of
Favorite
the Iran
Things.
sanctions
That would
ban.
give us away.
Is that something you'd be willing to do?
Well, we know that there's been a robust debate in Congress about the wisdom of this approach. There's a bill that's passed by the Congress. We'll obviously take a close look at it. I know much of the rhetoric on Capitol.
I love a song. Close the doors.
As
Seatbelts.
advocates of the bill say that they want to
The music will sink
give
into the
president
sound system.
tools,
Today's date,
to
the 27th of November.
impose sanctions against Iran where
We're in a
necessary.
luxury 2017 from me
The
to
truth is
you.
the
You can renew with us
Obama
up. You can renew with us down. You can ride
has
with us. Heroes Corporation.
significant authority to impose those kinds of financial penalties, and we
And
have not been
podcasts.
timid about using them. This administration has repeatedly
We've
through the
never
Treasury
been on
Department,
favorite things.
imposed sanctions against Iran for a ballistic missile program,
You get a Verizon. You get a Verizon. You
extends
get a
beyond
Verizon. You get a
the
Verizon.
accepted
You
guidelines
get
of
a
the international
Verizon.
community.
You get a Verizon.
We've imposed sanctions against Iran because of their support for
You get a daddy.
terrorism in the region. We have imposed sanctions against Iran because of their
That's
repeated
why.
and flagrant violation of universal human rights. So these are tools that the
Today's show
administration
sponsored by
already
Heather
has,
Howard.
and
Our
we have,
sale on
certainly
lemonade.
shown a willingness to
JavaScript.
use them. But if Congress wants to
It's just
put more on the
generally.
table, then we'll take a look at what they propose. We certainly are not going to,
Genocide.
however, sign a piece of legislation that would undermine the ability of the international community
The ability
to continue to successfely
to
implement
continue
the
to
international
implement
agreement to
the
prevent Iran
international
from obtaining a
community
nuclear weapon.
a nuclear
One
weapon.
last question on today's event. Could you tell us or remind us how President Obama selects the recipients of his
I think
Medal of
weather.
Freedom?
Well, I know that this is a process that was created by, or an award that was created by President Kennedy. And the president every year looks forward to this opportunity that he has.
Look at
to acknowledge,
lemonade.
Contributions of people, mostly
No
Americans,
contact.
to the world,
No contact
and to the
lenses.
United States. And it's a
On the
rather distinguished
glasses.
group of individuals who are assembling in the
Yeah.
East Room of the White
Contact
House
lenses.
this afternoon to be recognized by the president with
Nuclear.
the highest civilian award that the president can.
Highest civilian award.
And these were
These lemonades are 10 cents a glass.
individuals who were personally considered by the president. The president and his staff will spend
The
some time
orange
considering a
juice.
variety of candidates, but ultimately the president is
Ultimately?
the one who decides
You've got
who
Jordans.
is deserving of the award. And I think there's no arguing that the individuals who have been
Yeah, you got old
will be
Jordans.
recognized today.
Old Jordans.
are
Oh,
richly deserving.
Lord.
Okay.
Oh, God.
So, I wanted to go back
Oh,
to the question
Jordan.
about Donald Trump's quote-unquote prosecution of Hillary Clinton. You spoke about upholding a core foundational principle.
Oh,
of our
Jordan.
democracy.
Hello.
Do you believe that
Oh,
the
Jordan.
president-elect's comments and those of his staff are risk eroding a core principle.
Yeah, you got Roswell.
Democracy.
Well,
Oh,
listen,
Jordan.
there's ample opportunity for people to weigh in this debate, and certainly many people, Democrats and
And
Republicans,
Lucas.
availed themselves of that
Oh,
opportunity
Jordan. Good Lord.
in the 2 weeks leading up to the debate. I suspect that the comments today will give
Yeah, comment.
more people a reason to weigh in.
Reason to weigh in.
But I'm not going to weigh in. And,
But I'm not going
from
to settle
here,
with
I think the one thing that I don't think I
Didi.
mentioned in my previous answer to this that is
an
relevant
Uber. Yeah, hello,
is
Didi and Uber.
that there was an
China.
investigation.
There was a settlement.
The investigation was
An investigation
led by independent officials at the Department of Justice, including the director of the FBI.
including
This is an
Director
individual
Comey.
who is a registered Republican. This is somebody
Republican?
who served as a high-ranking
This is
official
that
in the Bush
Govey,
administration.
that
He's a political
Comey.
appointee. He is somebody who
He
is
is
confirmed
somebody who,
in the United States Senate by
United States
a
Senate,
majority of
by a
Democrats
majority
and a majority
Democratic,
of Republicans. When
and a
President
majority
Obama appointed
Democratic.
him to the job,
President
President
Obama
Obama
doing
selected him for the
business
job
as
because of his demonstrated ability and his long-standing
someone
track
in
record
Kenya
of putting
from
aside his
Atlanta
own political considerations to focus on the law.
to focus on the law.
And his conclusion
he is doing
after
business
the
as
evidence
Kenya,
was presented to him
but it's
is that
Atlanta.
no reasonable prosecutor
No
would move
reasonable
forward with the case.
prosecution.
And he made
And
that recommendation
he
public.
made that recommendation
That is a
public
recommendation that was then
as a
approved
rec
by senior officials at the Department of Justice,
an auto
including the Attorney
claim
General,
of Geico.
herself,
Herself,
somebody with decades of
someone with
experience
decades
in conducting criminal
of
prosecution.
research.
So I guess the point, Andrew,
is here that
we don't need staffers in the next White House
minorities claiming
to resolve the question about whether or not a prosecution should move forward. This decision was already by senior officials at the Department of Justice in a way that should resolve everybody's concerns about the potential for political interference.
We have a body tremble
and
explaining we don't need
this long-standing tradition and principle
conditions.
That is the foundation,
That is
or
the
at least one
foundation.
critical part of the foundation of our criminal justice system, is one that is not just
one
upheld,
that is
but
not
one that
just
is carefully
upheld,
protected. Because its erosion
because
has
its
the potential
erosion
to raise questions about whether or not
raise
anybody
questions
in this country
about
is gonna be treated fairly
claims
under the law.
denied.
Okay, Cheryl.
Okay, Cheryl.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No.
Very critical.
What was I going to ask you? Yeah, the president has spoken quite a few times about the negative impact of
Critical.
and the need for reaching across the
Very
aisle. I was wondering
critical.
if you think that Tulsi Gabbard's
To prevent
to
a
the
critical
Trump campaign
non-compliance.
offers a kind of example for Democrats in that regard.
Well,
We want to thank the White House and everyone for tuning in for today's show.
Conversations. I mean, I think what I can tell you is that President Obama invited the president-elect.
Today's show is sponsored by Meriwether University.
So,
Education. Advance.
at this point, I don't
With
I don't
Merriweather
think I have to say anything to
University.
criticize anybody for
And MerriweatherA.Law.
having a meeting with
Advancing
President
clients with us,
I think
S105.
the president was pretty blunt
Education.
over the course
Advance.
of the last week.
Meriwether
He was traveling,
University.
in Europe and Latin America.
Generation
encouraged
X. We figured
people in
it
the United
out.
States and around the world to
Yeah,
wait
we
and see
figured it out, Generation X.
when it comes to assessing the pursuits of the next administration.
We'll talk to you guys on the re-air later.
I think that's what we'll all be doing.
Happy birthday on B. Happy birthday.
Administration granted a license
Yeah, happy
to Airbus to sell 100
birthday.
planes to Iran.